Hello, this is Les. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install Ubuntu Desktop. This is from Ubuntu version 17.04, which just came out recently. Today I'm going to install it on an Oracle VirtualBox virtual machine. You could install this on your laptop or your desktop without having to use a virtual machine, but I didn't feel like building out a new computer, so I'm doing it on a VM. I'll, in another video, show you how to install VirtualBox and kind of the finer points of how to install virtual machines using that. But for now, I've already, if you can see my mouse here, I've already created a place for us to make our virtual machine. I called it Ubuntu Desktop 17.04. It does not have the operating system installed yet. You can see I've allocated about 2 gigs of RAM to it and a couple of processor cores. I went ahead and ahead of time downloaded the Ubuntu installation ISO file from ubuntu.com. This is for Ubuntu Desktop, not server. And I've downloaded it. I've set up this virtual machine so that it can point to that ISO file for installation. You may choose to create a bootable USB drive or a USB flash memory stick to do your installation. Normally I would do that on a regular machine, but because it's a VM and because I have the ISO on this host computer, which is a Windows 10 machine, I chose not to do that. So let's move forward and begin the installation. I'm going to hit start. We should see it boot with here it goes. It should see the ISO file as if it were seeing a CD, or not. Oh well, let's see what happened here. I'm going to power off the machine. Should be nothing on it anyway. And we're going to go into, I guess you're going to get to see a few things. Let's go into storage. Oh, because it doesn't see that, so I'm going to put it back in there. Not a new controller, a new disk. We're going to add an optical disk. We're going to choose a disk. This is the folder where it is. Ubuntu 17.04 desktop, 64-bit, and we'll hit OK. Let's try this again. All right, so now we should see it. Get us into the Ubuntu. There we go. Into the Ubuntu installation program on the loader here. So let's see what happens. So it's thinking about it. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and minimize the manager back here. We don't need it right now. Slide this up. We can see it better. Make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Yeah. That's because I was resizing the virtual machine. You shouldn't run into that normally. I should not have been resizing it. So this is where we would pick our language. And here in the U.S., I'm going to pick English because that's the language I speak. Now from here you can choose to try Ubuntu, which is kind of a nice feature. If you don't know for sure that you want to run this or are comfortable with it, you can click this button and it'll actually run it from your installation media, be it an ISO file like I'm doing, or a DVD or a flash stick. So you could click this button and try it. It usually runs a little bit slower than the fully installed version, but it gives you a chance to try it out without doing any harm to your, or without making any changes rather to your computer. You could do this from your Windows computer safely without damaging your Windows installation. You don't need a virtual machine for that. But I think we're sure we're going to install it because that's what this video is about. So I'm going to click Install Ubuntu. I'm going to zip through some of this. If you go through this installation, please stop and read these things, but I'm going to give you some of the basics, kind of defaults that I'll pick um, to get this going. And I'm approaching this from the standpoint of you want to install a desktop version of Ubuntu that you plan to use as your desktop computer or laptop, let's say. So I'm going to do things like go ahead and if you have a good fast internet connection, go ahead and tell it to download updates while it's installing Ubuntu. It'll just go ahead and get them downloaded and installed. Secondly, I tell it to install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, Flash, MP3, and other media. So that way it goes ahead and gets that stuff installed for you, so you don't have to go back later. Um, you'll find later, and maybe in a different video when we go through some of the more detailed views of how to use the Ubuntu desktop. Uh, some things, they're not difficult to do, but there might be a learning curve if you're not accustomed to using uh, Ubuntu or Linux in general as a desktop. Uh, and having to go and find some of these packages and install them, you can just have it put them on here during the installation of the operating system. So I'm going to continue. Okay, so what you didn't see is when I created this virtual machine, and I said it was empty, I had to give it a certain amount of hard drive space of my real hard drive to make it available for this installation. So it's just asking me, do you want to use the entire disk? This is not in a virtual machine. This is not your entire real physical hard drive. This is uh, the space you've allocated for this virtual machine, and really it's just a file. And what we're going to do is we want it to erase the disk and install Ubuntu. This warning, I mean, this is true if you're installing this on a laptop or a desktop. This is talking about your physical hard drive. So if you are installing this on your home PC, you need to be aware that if you select this option, it will erase the entire hard drive. Everything that you had on it before is gone. Will be gone when you do this. If that's your intention, great. Otherwise, there are some other options here, but this is what we're going to pick. It's giving you just another warning. If you continue, all this stuff's going to happen to the disk. We're okay with that for what we're doing. Like a fresh install, like it's a fresh computer. So here we go. All right, well, it's chosen the East Coast, United States for me, which is, I'm on the East Coast, so I'm going to hit continue. You can, of course, pick whatever time zone you're in. I'm going to pick US English and the English US keyboard layout. And I'm going to hit continue. Oop, I need to make my window a little bit bigger, I think. That'll be helpful. There we go, that's better. Let me get my mug out of the way here. Nice and small. That's a better view of me. You don't have to stare at me too closely. Let me hit continue. All right, so this is initial setup, almost like if you're used to Windows or a Mac for that matter. When you're first setting it up, you need to set up this kind of stuff. What is your name? Well, my name's Les. And it kind of starts to fill out the name of the computer for you. You can put whatever you want here, as long as it doesn't conflict with another computer's name that might be on your network at home or your office, whatever. I'm gonna leave it at Les VirtualBox. I'm gonna make my username Les, and I'm gonna type in a password. I'm gonna use something super secure. I think I will use password. All right, it says it's weak, but fine. This is just for a demonstration. You can have it log in automatically or require your password when you log in. If this is going to be your desktop, especially if it's going to be on your laptop and you're traveling around with it, I would not recommend that you let it automatically log in. I also recommend you use some password other than password. You can also choose to have your home folder encrypted. If you're on a system that is going to have multiple users, maybe you're installing this and you have children or your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever who will also be using the computer with their own user ID. maybe you want to keep your personal files, your documents and videos and pictures and music, whatever. If you want to keep that stuff private, you can encrypt your home folder and keep your things safe that way. I'm not going to do that here, but you certainly can. So we're going to continue. Require a password. We've typed in these things. Continue. This part takes a few minutes, so I'll talk through some of this. I'll probably skip forward, until it's closer to done, or until it's ready for the next step. It gives you lots of little information in this window here, talking about how fast and full of new features it is. There's additional information here that you should read through while you're waiting for the installation. Oh, it looks like they have a new way to get software. So that's nice. This would be what they're talking about here is similar to, say, the Windows Store or the App Store for Apple. So they have kind of their own version of that. And there are a lot of good software packages for free that do just about everything you want to do. Everything from like an Office suite using OpenOffice or LibreOffice. In fact, I think that Ubuntu comes with LibreOffice anyway. To multimedia stuff, video and audio editing software, all kinds of things. Their default audio player from their default window manager, which we can discuss later what a window manager is their media player is called Rhythmbox, or their music player rather. I hate to compare it to this. It's kind of like iTunes. I'm not an iTunes fan, but it's a music player. If you've used one on another system, then it does the same stuff. It plays music. Let's see what else they got here. All right, Shotwell Photo Manager, which is, again, a lot of these are third-party software packages that just happen to be included with this installation of Ubuntu. If you were to install a different version of Linux, like Red Hat or CentOS or any of these other ones, it may not come with Shotwell Photo Manager, which would be kind of like iPhoto for you Mac users out there, or just like the I don't remember what the Windows version is, but you can easily get that through that software store or that we saw back in that step, and we could get into that later. But it's a pretty nice way of organizing your photos and doing some basic photo editing. It comes with Firefox as a browser. Firefox is fine. It's not Internet Explorer. You can also get Chrome, which is my browser of choice from Google. But you can put Firefox on there, Opera, pretty much any of the major browsers except for Internet Explorer or Edge. Oh look, LibreOffice. That's what I was talking about a minute ago. So this comes with it. So it's like a full Office suite if you're not familiar with it. Like Microsoft Office, except it's not Microsoft It can read and write Microsoft Office files like doc files or XLS files for spreadsheets that would normally be for Excel. They have the equivalent products on there, like you see here, LibreOffice Writer, which is like Microsoft Word, LibreOffice Calc, which is like Excel, and Impress, which is like PowerPoint. And they have some other pieces of that Office suite they're not listing them here, but they're included. What is this talking about? Oh, it's done talking. So I'm going to restart now. If you're on a physical computer, it's going to restart the whole machine. This is going to restart our virtual machine. So I'm going to hit restart now. Let it reboot. Oh, I have to get rid of the installation media. So I'm going to bring that window back up. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. I'm gonna, well, I don't know if it'll let me do that right now, but I'm gonna try it. So we're gonna go back into the settings, go to that same one we put in here. Oh, okay, it got rid of it. It's fine. So I don't think I need to do anything there after all. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna press enter like it says. It looks like it's gonna work. We will see. Uh, so far, Ubuntu Desktop is it's really easy to install. It's really they've targeted the home user, somebody who maybe is not experienced with Linux. Uh, that's been the problem over the years with Linux operating systems is that for someone who wasn't at least an enthusiast about the tech world. It really wasn't a good choice. I mean, I've used it for years off and on. I've been using it a lot more lately, um, and I enjoy it. But this is kind of what I do, so it's fine. They've certainly done. They've taken huge leaps forward in making the operating system more friendly to somebody who's maybe not as experienced with it. I don't know what it's doing right now. It may be because it may be taking just a hair longer because it's the first time booting after installation. I hope that's what the deal is. Uh, we'll give it a minute and I'll just keep talking. um, and I've taken a huge step forward. What they call a window manager, which is the graphical interface for it that comes with it by default, is called Unity. It was. I thought I read recently they've renamed it, and if they have, I'll make a correction on the video. But um, it's a little different than what we're used to. If you're a Windows user, it's I would say a little closer, a little bit, not like not exactly the same, but it's a little closer to the interface, the desktop view of OS X, and I think that's what they were going for there. But I will tell you that the Unity desktop can be a little heavy on your system resources, your memory and your graphics. If you have an older computer, and we'll probably do this in another video, but if you have an older computer, you might be a little happier with a different window manager. That's what's kind of cool. That's what's cool about Linux is that you can a Linux desktop is that you don't have to stick with the graphical interface that you've been given by default. Where if you've installed Windows, you kind of get what they gave you in terms of how it's laid out, that kind of thing. Yeah, you can change your wallpaper and make slight changes to the coloring of Windows, things like that. But really, a good, fully different layout without some special software, aftermarket software, you're not going to be able to change that a lot. Same thing is true for OS X. With Linux, the graphical interface is kind of an overlay to the command line. For some folks, that's a scary thing, which is fine. You don't have to deal with that much if you don't want to. In fact, almost not at all if you don't want to with Linux. But in the background, the command line stuff is going on, and so you really can choose what you want it to look like, and that's maybe a slightly more advanced thing to do, and that's something we can maybe make another video on later. I've done that a few times on some older machines to use some simpler interfaces so that it wouldn't be quite so heavy on the machine. I don't know what's happening here. Let's see, what is going on with this guy? We will see. Okay, so I decided to start over. Not start over, the installation's done. Here we go. This is what I was waiting for. By default, see there's a little countdown here. It's counting down from 25 or 30 or something. by default, it wants to give you some options. I'm going to move my cursor here so this timer stops so you can see what I'm looking at. Normally, for the average user, you don't care about this screen. You don't. Where it has a little, where it just says Ubuntu on this top line inside of our menu options, that's what you want to go into. And if you don't do anything, if you don't touch anything while it's booting up, it'll automatically go into that. They have some options for some advanced options. Kind of think of this like safe mode in Windows, right? You can go in there and do some more stuff. And it's some memory testing stuff. We're not going to do those things. We're just going to go straight into Ubuntu, and that's what we're going to do right now. Hopefully this will be faster than it was a minute ago. All right. I don't know what all that mess was. Let me move this. There we go. So it was being weird the first time out. And probably it was VM related, but we'll see. All right, so here. I remember a minute ago when we were setting it up, I created the username Les, and I gave it the password. You can do guest sessions, as you see here. See this little icon right here? This is a drop down. Oh, okay. So the default Ubuntu desktop environment, and then there's Unity 8. We're not going to pick that, but clicking, I'm going to pick this one, but clicking this icon allows you to pick a different window manager. So if you install a different window manager, like I was just talking about a minute ago, this is where you could select what you want Linux or Ubuntu to look like. Anyway, so I've typed in the super complicated password, and I'm going to go next. And like any computer that you've just installed the operating system on, sometimes it may or may not have to go through some processes, some first steps, since this is the first time it's been booted up since the install. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to do that, though. Well, that's the installation, and that's what this video is about. Sorry it took so long. Most of it was me waiting for foolishness, and I'll probably cut some of that out. But we'll do another video. Sorry, I've got Hangouts calls coming in. Anyway, we'll do another video on how to customize this interface and explore it a little bit. Maybe less customization, more exploration. But we will do that in another video. So thanks for watching. I'm Les, and see you next time. Bye.